Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestle News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, we have a ton of WWE news stories to get into today, so let's get straight in with a massive story. Huge story considering he was only released by WWE, last week? But that's Aleister Black could be set for a return to WWE. This one certainly is a surprising story, but it is being reported that there is said to be a feeling among some that WWE let Aleister Black, now known Tommy End, obviously that was the name he was going by previously, in that the feeling is that he should be brought back to the company. Now, Black was released by WWE on June 2nd, along with several other WWE superstars, as part of the reported budget cuts by the promotion. But PW Insider is now reporting that in certain corners of the company, there has been talk that Black was probably cut prematurely, and there is a push for WWE officials to bring him back. Now, it was noted that as of the shock of the recent of the WWE releases starts to wear off, there is a feeling that out of everyone that was released on June 2nd, Black was, quote, cut too soon and was more of a victim of broken promises and the stop-start creative process more than anything that he did on his own. Now, it remains to be seen if WWE does indeed bring back Aleister Black, but he revealed that there was a creative plan for him when he was released past the SmackDown arrival he made late in May to attack Big E. Black is reportedly under the 90-day non-compete clause with WWE, which would expire on Tuesday, August 31st. He has talked about potential post-WWE matchups and seems excited about his future. Now, Black's first WWE booking was announced on Tuesday, as was previously reported. Now, this is a fascinating story, isn't it? I mean, this is a really fascinating story. We heard this before, not about Aleister Black, but we heard it last year as part of those budget cuts that were let go of the people that were let go last year. Not just Drake Maverick, who of course did come back, and that was by a bit of a groundswell of support because of the video he posted on social media where he was obviously upset, devastated by the news that he was released. He's still competing in NXT to this day, arguably because of that video, because of the groundswell of support that he received after posting that video on social media. And there were reports last year, after those talents that were released in April, there was reports that WWE was considering bringing some names back, or they sent out feelers about bringing talents back. Obviously, Heath Slater was a name that was discussed being brought back, and I think he subsequently confirmed that there was an offer for him to return. He decided to turn that down and go to Impact Wrestling instead. I recall Mike Chioda as well, obviously the longtime WWE referee official that loads of people, including myself, was surprised to see released last year. After he was released, he revealed that there was an opportunity for him to come back to referee the greatest wrestling match ever between Edge and Randy Orton. He decided to turn it down. He had other commitments at the time. I don't know if that would have, led to him making a full-fledged return to the company. Who knows? But the Aleister Black story, this one, it's surprising in the sense that the guy was just released and already there's a discussion for him to come back. But it's also not surprising in the sense that WWE, they have done this. There is precedent for this. Isn't a first time ever situation. There have been talents that have been fired or released and then they're brought back within a couple of weeks or whatever. Daniel Bryan's a great example in 2010 when he was fired after the choking incident with Justin Roberts as part of that initial Nexus angle. He came back at SummerSlam and he's one of the most famous WWE superstars ever at this point, even though he's not currently under contract with the company. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that WWE would bring back Aleister Black. I think the surprising nature of this is that, when you're talking about budget cuts, and Aleister Black, he was released because of budget cuts. This is why all of these talents have been let go. Budget cuts. This is why all of these employees have been let go at WWE's headquarters around the world, not just in Stamford, Connecticut, but all of these people that have been let go by the company. It's all about budget cuts. And then suddenly, okay, we're going to bring Aleister back because actually those budget cuts don't include you anymore. Would Aleister Black be willing to go back to WWE? I don't know. He's not really said anything derogatory about the company, not that he should. I know there's been this weird feeling on social media of people that are annoyed with Aleister Black for not bad-mouthing WWE, which I don't really understand. My issue has always been when it comes to Aleister Black, some of the comments that he's made since being released by WWE has more been that some of the ones that just don't make any sense. The idea when he says that Vince McMahon or Bruce Pritchard, they were fighting for me, they were big fans of me, they found me intriguing, they love my creativity, and it's kind of like, well, if they were big fans of you, if they loved you and they loved your creativity and they loved your character, you wouldn't be released, you wouldn't be let go at this point. And again, it's this weird narrative sometimes of these talents that get let go by WWE, and they blame everyone but Vince McMahon. Yet on the flip side of things, whenever any decision's made, any controversial or major decision or any interview of any executive, any official, they always say the buck stops with Vince McMahon. He has the final call on everything. So logic would suggest he has the final call on releases as well. He must. He must have the final call. People get angry about people not fighting for them or people not, oh, they didn't go to bat for me and all this kind of stuff. But ultimately, if Vince McMahon isn't a fan, you will get let go from the company. If Vince McMahon is a fan, you will stay under contract. He will keep you under his employ. That's just how it works. So I don't really agree with Aleister Black on that, but I'm not one of these people going, why aren't you bad-mouthing WWE? Because look at it. Look at the things he achieved while he was there. Should he have achieved more? Absolutely. Should they have embraced his creativity more? Absolutely. Is it just another case of the weird corporate structure that WWE has in terms of producing television and the creativity and that bureaucracy that WWE has in terms of the creative process? Absolutely. But in the same vein, Aleister Black is a much better known name today than he was previously because of his career in WWE. He met his wife in WWE. There is a lot there that he's got to be thankful for. Obviously, it was frustrating. I think, and we share, as an Aleister Black fan myself, and there's a lot of Aleister Black fans on social media, we share his frustration in how his career panned out. But I'm not one of these people that wants to see people, first of all, lose their job anyway, but two, I don't want to see people badmouth WWE. Oh, you're fired, so you've got to vent and say you hate everyone. If you've got nothing to hate, then what's the point? Some people will leave WWE and vent their issues that they had in terms of the frustrations that they have. But I don't want to see anyone come out and just bash people for no reason. If you've got a reason, if you feel you've been slighted or you've got an issue with the creative process, that's fine. But people saying, oh, I can't believe Aleister Black's coming out and thanking people for their opportunity, and Kyle Anderson saying, oh, stop it with the thank you tweets. Why not? It's good business. It's being professional. It's having some integrity. Even in everyday life, anyone's watching this and you have your regular 9-to-5 job or whatever job you have, at the end of the day, you'll probably say thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate that. I wish it didn't end this way or whatever, but I thank you for the opportunity. I thank you for paying me. And then you move on. That's it. I don't get that. I just don't understand that kind of, oh, we really want to see Aleister Black come out and just bash people. We want to see him come out and tell everyone that he hates Vince McMahon and he hates WWE. No, I don't want to see that. Now, as far as him returning to the company, look, it would be very surprising. There's no doubt about that. How it would work, I don't know. It's kind of left Big E in the lurch, hasn't it? In the sense that this is a guy that was attacked a couple of weeks ago, and then his attack has mysteriously disappeared. In terms of the logic of the creative on SmackDown, I don't know how he comes back from that. I don't know what he transitions into now. Who knows? I guess we'll find out, this coming week on SmackDown. How they address it is interesting just out of a curiosity point of view, I suppose. But look, Aleister Black being brought back, his release was surprising. So I guess at this point, should anything surprise us anymore? Probably the answer is no. So who knows what can happen with Aleister Black? Certainly going to be interesting. And look, if Aleister Black does come back to WWE, I mean, again, I don't know. I don't know how that would work. He said that he had frustrations in terms of the creative, stop-start creative, and he wanted to have more opportunities. And there certainly is a frustration of, like he said, I had meetings with Vince McMahon. I had to wait 5 hours outside of his office and all that kind of stuff. Does he want to go back to that? And what offers has he received already? I find it difficult to believe that he wouldn't have already received a conversation or a phone call from a Tony Khan, a Scott D'Amore, people from New Japan, people from wherever. As I mentioned previously, he's not going to have any issues in finding a place to work. So it's going to be interesting. It's whether he wants to step back into that environment. Has his wife already re-signed with WWE? Does that play into it as well? Possibly a little bit. There's lots of different things at play here. So would certainly be surprising. If I'm anyone of any influence in WWE, I'm saying I think we made a mistake. I'd be saying that in the first place anyway. But it's a fascinating story, and one that I'm sure will continue, because wherever Aleister Black ends up, it's going to be an interesting story. Let's talk about the Bella Twins. WWE Hall of Famers, the Bella Twins, because Nikki Bella has stated that she is starting preparations for a pro wrestling return, which means that the Bella Twins could be set for an in-ring return in the near future. Now, they mentioned this previously, so this isn't actually, huge breaking news here. I believe it was earlier this year, around WrestleMania time, around the time they were getting inducted into the Hall of Fame, they said, we've got a desire to return, especially now that there's women's tag team championships were tailor-made for it. Now, the sister duo have expressed a heavy interest in getting back inside of the ring for about a year, even got a little bit physical at WrestleMania back in April with Bayley. And now that Nikki and Brie Bella have both given birth and been mothers for a little while, conversations about an upcoming return to the ring have resurfaced. Now, this is in an interview from Entertainment Tonight. Brie Bella emphasized that a certain title is what piques her and her sister's interest in getting back to the ring. She said, quote, "The one thing is that WWE brought the women's tag team titles in. We were like, wait a second, how did the Bellas not have this on the resume? It's tempting because we would love to fight for the tag titles because that's what we've always been, a tag team." Now, Brie recounted a specific in-ring memory that she wants to rekindle with her children in the crowd. She said, quote, "Now that Birdie is 4, and we're talking about when the boys get a little older too, to have our kids watch what we used to do in that ring would be really special for us. I'll never forget the moment when I wrestled Stephanie McMahon at SummerSlam. To see her 3 little girls, they were little at the time, to see their faces when we came back, they looked at their mom like she was a superhero. I want that one day. I just thought that was the coolest thing." Now, this is what Nikki Bella said. She said, quote, "For me, I'm definitely starting that preparation. I want to train hard for it. When we come back, I want to change my style in the ring a little bit. I want to make a statement." And they also spoke about, obviously, their children possibly coming back and possibly becoming wrestlers in the future, all that kind of stuff. Look, I saw... when this story was on social media, and I guess just everything on social media is just negative, especially pro wrestling social media. But I saw on social media when this story came out, Nikki Bella said she's preparing for an in-ring return. The Bella twins are coming back. The negativity I find staggering. I really do. Are the Bella twins the best female wrestlers of all time? Of course they're not. Of course they're not. But if you think that WWE isn't going to pitch and advocate for a Bella twins return to the ring, considering their name recognition, their branding, Bella twins at this point, a lot of people that are fans of them and a lot of people that follow them on social media and watch the Total Bellas program or whatever, I think that they have a clothing line, I think Brie Bella does, all that kind of stuff. Some of their fans, I would even suggest quite a few of them, don't even know that the Bella twins used to be wrestlers. So genuinely, there is people that I know that certainly aren't pro wrestling fans that follow the Bella twins or both of them on Twitter, on Instagram, Facebook or whatever, because they like the personality. They've seen the reality shows. They've seen Nikki on Dancing with the Stars. They've seen Brie Bella and the whole Birdie clothing line and all that kind of stuff. They like the Bella twins. They don't like pro wrestling. So the name recognition they have outside of pro wrestling is huge. And they have, for whatever reason, in their own way, transformed and crossed over into the mainstream media. People know who they are. And frankly, how many tag teams have WWE got? Hardly any. I mean, they released most of them, and the ones that they still have on the roster, I mean, aren't really legitimate tag teams. How many tag teams on that women's roster now are legitimate tag teams? They've got a team name, they have similar tag team gear, they use tag team psychology, they have the same entrance. None. They don't. People can look at it's always someone and someone. Natalya and Tamina. Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. That's WWE's version of women's tag team wrestling at this point. Let's put two single stars together, make them a tag team. You're a tag team now. The Bellas, they are a female tag team. They're a women's tag team. So of course they would come back. Of course they would come back for the women's tag team championships. That's good business. And every time the Bellas come back, they bring the media attention with them. So WWE, of course they would want that. With SummerSlam on the horizon, why wouldn't they want the Bella twins teaming for the tag team championships at that event? Because that itself is a bigger match than anything WWE could do for the tag team championships in that spot. What else are they going to have? What else are they going to have there? Natalya and Tamina versus Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler again? Because that's not going to be as big as the Bella twins competing for the tag team titles. It's just not. So people can complain all they want, and I guess the negativity is that, they're not great workers, or when they came back in 2018 and there was the injuries and all that kind of stuff, but it's just good business at this point. They have a following. They generate a reaction. And look, Nikki Bella, I said this before, Nikki Bella's match with Ronda Rousey on YouTube from Evolution, it's got something like over 70 million views. Now, it's not going to turn Monday Night Raw into being viewed by 70 million people. I mean, it would be impossible. Even if Monday Night Raw was the only program on television, it wouldn't have 70 million people. People would just rather go outside and watch the sky instead. But frankly, the idea of people getting angry because the Bella twins are going to come back, and again, look what they're coming back for. People going back, they're going to come back and they're going to take the championship from all of these full-time workers. It's the women's tag team titles. No disrespect to them, but they've got kind of zero credibility at the moment anyway. Putting them on someone as well known as the Bella twins might actually give the championship some meaning again. Because at least with the Bella twins holding the titles, we might actually get some legitimate tag teams. We might actually get a legitimate women's division at that point. So it can't be considered a bad thing. It's good business. And again, it's this situation of people on social media got to complain about something. Got to find something to complain about. It's the Bella Twins today. Let's talk about SummerSlam. Of course, SummerSlam, the build to SummerSlam continues, and the reports and rumours about SummerSlam continue, of course, taking place on Saturday, August 21st from Allegiant Stadium. But WWE officials are reportedly looking to make SummerSlam into a WrestleMania-level event this year. Now, that's no surprise. Obviously, you don't book out an NFL stadium and have reportedly, hopefully, 70,000 people attending if you're going to have a subpar show. This is WWE's WrestleMania this year. Now, it's reported by multiple sources, according to WrestleVotes on social media, that WWE is 100% attempting to make SummerSlam this year's WrestleMania. It was noted that all resources will be tapped into for the biggest event of the summer. Now, it's previously been reported and rumored about a returning John Cena facing Roman Reigns. Another rumor is that rapper Cardi B will be brought in as the host of SummerSlam. There's been rumors about Brock Lesnar possibly returning as well. We don't know what that's for. There's been some saying that it's going to face Bobby Lashley. There's been some saying Brock Lesnar isn't going to come back until we can face Roman Reigns. What we do know is that WWE is attempting to pack Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. It's the first time SummerSlam has been held in an NFL stadium. The event will be held at full capacity. So possibly, again, 70,000 fans possibly attending SummerSlam. And this is no real, think about it. This is no real surprise here, I think, because look, WrestleMania was WrestleMania this year, and just because, it's still WrestleMania by name, and WWE wanted a certain amount of fans for that show. I think initially, what did they want? 45,000 per night for WrestleMania. They couldn't do it because of the state and local health and safety guidelines, which is right. It's the right thing to do. And they had about 25,000 fans there per night. WWE realizes now that as we're moving towards a different phase of this pandemic now, we're not out of it. There's certainly light at the end of the tunnel, vaccinations, mass crowds returning, live events returning. In terms of the pro wrestling sphere, just having a regular touring schedule and having fans there at live events, all that kind of stuff, it's great. It's absolutely great. WWE realizes that arguably their second, with the events that they've got left this year, obviously the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, you could argue are WWE's two biggest events of the year. It used to not be the Royal Rumble. Royal Rumble, especially over the years with the road to WrestleMania, has just turned into something else. Previously, you could argue that WrestleMania was 1, SummerSlam was 2, maybe Survivor Series was 3, Royal Rumble was 4. They're interchangeable, but now certainly it's, WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, Survivor Series in terms of the big four, in terms of their importance. You could argue that WWE looks at the calendar right now and they realize, look, what big events have we got left on the calendar this year? One of them is SummerSlam. That's been around for years, over 30 years, has all of this history. We haven't really done it in a big stadium before. Obviously, we had Wembley Stadium in terms of an NFL stadium based in the United States. We haven't done that before. This has been a plan for years at this point. We've always heard the rumors, haven't we, about SummerSlam that they've wanted for, I can recall at least the last 5 or 6 years, discussions about SummerSlam maybe transitioning into a stadium show. Does WWE want to do that? Do they think they can draw in the summer? All that kind of stuff. Which stadiums would be available for them to use in the summer? All of that kind of stuff has always been the rumor for SummerSlam. I remember hearing these reports for a while about WWE wanting to do a big event when it comes to SummerSlam, but they've obviously looked at this and said, look, we're now in a position where we can do a big stadium show, we can sell all of the tickets, and we couldn't do it for WrestleMania because it wasn't the right timing, but that big revenue driver that WrestleMania is, we can just move that into August. We can just move that and make SummerSlam our WrestleMania this year. So it's good business. I think the fascinating thing is if they're tapping into all resources, we're going to get a WrestleMania-style build and a WrestleMania-style card in August. What does that mean? Rumors are John Cena. Rumors are Brock Lesnar. I would be surprised if they don't cash in the second Goldberg match of the year. Again, it depends what their plans are, I guess, for Saudi Arabia later this year. If they think they can travel, maybe they save Goldberg later on. There's lots of different avenues here. And it's exciting. It's very exciting. Look, it's exciting to be excited and speculating about a big stadium show. It's exciting to be speculating about a John Cena return. It's exciting to be speculating about a Brock Lesnar return. It's exciting to have a stadium show that's going to have 70,000 people there and not have to worry about people hopefully getting sick as badly. So I don't see this as surprising news, and I think it's smart. I think if, again, considering where we're sort of moving towards now when it comes to the pandemic, it makes sense for WWE to look at this and say, right, let's go all out. And I've seen different reports. I think it was John Albers, that a source he had spoken to said that they're looking for a home run and they need a home run. I don't know necessarily what they mean by need a home run in terms of financial point of view. I don't know. It's interesting though. And look, I'm very excited as a pro wrestling fan. It's exciting to be excited about a big event again. It was so great. Going back to it. WrestleMania earlier this year. having that just roar of the fans back during that period of time was so great and so exciting. So I'm beyond excited about SummerSlam and fascinated to see what WWE does for the plans going forward. Let's talk about AOP. This is a crazy story that's kind of just emerged over the last sort of 24 hours or so. Now, it was previously reported, it was Fightful Select, Sean Ross Sapp at Fightful Select reported yesterday that there was a bit of an update when it comes to AOP. Of course, AOP were released by WWE last April, I believe, as part of those budget cuts. And a lot of people, myself included, expected them to go to another company, whether that was New Japan. I think AOP and New Japan, come on. They're perfectly suited for New Japan, aren't they? You talk about a big, brooding tag team, it makes so much sense. Now, this initial report from Fightful Select basically stated that other wrestlers had inquired about bringing in the Authors of Pain to particular wrestling companies last year. Now, they mentioned about AEW, they mentioned New Japan, I would assume possibly things like Impact as well, but nothing ever came of these talks. Now, it was noted that Akam and Razor were brought up to AEW officials last year, but the officials weren't sure that they were a good fit for AEW at the time, but the door was still left open for AOP to potentially work with AEW in the future. As I mentioned, AEW were also suggested to New Japan Pro Wrestling officials, but the company wasn't bringing in any new talent over at the time. I think there was a hiring freeze, wasn't there, at the time when it comes to New Japan because of the pandemic, and the budget for such a move was not near to what was needed for this. Now, the word was going round, and again, this is from Fightful Select, and there was an update on this. The word was going round that both members of AOP are now currently working regular jobs these days, and that one promoter who reached out to AOP informed Fightful Select that both men had retired from pro wrestling. Now, it wasn't clear if the wrestlers themselves said they were retired or just a representative of the group said that they were retired. Now, this shocked a lot of people. Akam's 28, Razor's 26. They were on, I would say, big contracts in WWE, but they were certainly featured players, had some great matches in NXT, obviously had a ton of potential, great look, great tag team. Everyone went, wow. Talk about guys retiring in their mid to late 20s. That's stunning in today's world of pro wrestling. Well, Akam and Razor have responded to this because they've taken to Instagram to react to the retirement news. They both posted the same photo from their days in NXT with Paul Ellering and said, easy for me to say, ain't done yet, bitches. Now, as I mentioned, WWE released Akam and Razor was actually last September. Now, along with holding the Raw Tag Team Championships, they also had the NXT Tag Team Championships and with the 2016 Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic winners. So that's certainly surprising. So look, sometimes I was surprised when it came to AOP, and I don't really know the situation that much. They said they're not retired. I'm glad. I always thought that the AOP was still, even in WWE, relatively green. Again, these are guys that are in their 20s, and the success that they were having in their 20s is incredible. Frankly, I was surprised when WWE let them go last year. Were they a bit injury prone? Injuries certainly played a part, I think, in it. I was hopeful for their run with Seth Rollins as part of his faction on Raw. Didn't work out, again, because of injuries. But when they were released, I didn't think they'd have any issue truly finding a promotion. I thought, first of all, I didn't necessarily think AEW. I thought more New Japan. I thought, man, if these guys in New Japan could just make so much money. I mean, they're so tailor-made for that company. Obviously, the pandemic plays a part in that. Maybe it's a situation as to when maybe, again, I don't know now because of the situation in Japan with the outbreak there, but once that hopefully dies down a little bit, AOP in Japan just works. So it's interesting to hear that they're saying that they haven't retired. I've seen some people on social media going, see, Sean Ross Sapp, you got it wrong, all that kind of stuff. I mean, he's just reporting what a promoter told him, and that's what Fightful is saying. And again, that maybe the promoter got it wrong or the representative got it wrong. Who knows? Who knows, the credibility of that promoter at all? So there's lots of different things to look into there. Again, this is what's crazy about social media or pro wrestling journalism in general. One story might not be exactly how reported, and it's like, oh, see, you're terrible, you're rubbish. People get things wrong all the time. I don't think he was making it up. There certainly have been people that have done that in the past, and that's no good, is it? So, give them a break. Speaking of people released by WWE, Braun Strowman, I wanted to talk about this because not that I want to be a Braun Strowman defender by any stretch of the imagination, but this story just kind of, it got to me. It did get to me. Now, former WWE superstar Braun Strowman is reportedly charging a five-figure booking fee for his post-WWE appearances on the Indies. Indie promoters who have reached out to Strowman about possible bookings report that the asking price is currently in the five-figure range. This is according to PW Insider. Now, word is that Braun Strowman is pretty set financially after his WWE departure. Obviously, he was on a big contract with the company, and he doesn't immediately need to start booking indie appearances. However, it was said that if the right promoter comes along and meets the right price, Strowman would be interested. Now, of course, Strowman is currently under the standard 90-day non-compete clause with WWE, which is set to expire on Tuesday, August 31st. Now, I wanted to talk about this because I know what people are responding to this by, and I know that what the headline is for this, and I know where people are trying to go with this. I know the spin that's trying to go here. Basically, when the story comes out that Braun Strowman is asking for a 5-figure price for his asking price in his post-WWE career, people are reporting this, and people want to look at this. Well, one, it's probably true, but also the reaction is going to be to this, well, how greedy, he's not worth that, amount of money, or how dare he, or who does he think he is, he's asking for this amount of money. First of all, who cares? Two, my response would be, that's how much he thinks he's worth. Know your value. You've got your own perceived value, you've got your own perceived worth. If that's what Braun Strowman thinks he's worth, fair play to him. That's what he thinks he's worth, that's what he wants to work for, that's up to him. Again, he just had a very good contract with WWE. I'm sure he's financially set for a while. He's showing on social media as well. I think he's been investing his money in other projects. Like, he's been tuning up cars and that recently. I think he's got his own car garage or something like that as well. So he's obviously got other investments. And again, he was on a big contract. And if that's how much he wants to charge for post-WWE appearances, whether it's at conventions or indie shows or whatever, fair play to him. That's his choice. It's up to the promoters and the people that book him to decide if they agree with that valuation and book him or not. If they don't agree with that valuation, don't book him. That's it. It's hardly a crime. It's hardly a crime that Braun Strowman wants to be paid that much. If that's how much he wants to get paid, he's either going to get the job or not. He's either going to be paid or he isn't going to be paid. That's it. You know, I never understand this. I never understand this story because this happens quite a lot. Talent gets released by WWE, and if it's high-profile talent or if it's talent that people don't necessarily like or they've said stuff in the past or all that kind of stuff, then they quote how much the asking price is for this talent on appearances or conventions or whatever, and then people get outraged. Oh, how dare they? How dare they quote this price? How dare they say, I'll come to the convention for this price? How dare they do this and do that? That's how much they perceive their worth to be. That's up to them. That doesn't hurt you. That doesn't hurt me. That doesn't hurt anyone. That doesn't hurt the promoter. They haven't paid that money yet. It's up to the promoter to agree or disagree with that value. If they say, I think Braun Strowman's worth that, I think I can make money on that, I agree to pay you. If they say, no, that's too much, then it's too much. Then they don't book Braun Strowman. Nobody loses there. Nobody loses. The promoter doesn't lose because they can book someone else with that money. Braun Strowman, I guess he loses the money, but he would say, look, I don't want to do it for any less. That's his choice. That's his choice in anything like that. Again, I just don't get these stories. I don't get these stories when people get outraged by someone knowing their worth or having their perceived perception of their worth. If they feel that, again, I don't want to do it for this price, then you don't do it for that price. That's up to him. And it's up to the promoter to pay it or not. Nobody's getting screwed over there. It's not a case of Braun Strowman, agreeing to go somewhere, then saying, no, double it. Okay, that's shady business. But he hasn't done that. He's just said, okay, thanks for reaching out. This is my price. And if the promoter goes, that's way too much, you go, okay, sorry, that's fine. It's like CM Punk. No one says that about CM Punk, right? CM Punk says, well, if WWE wants me to go back, I don't really want to, but if they were going to pay me $10 million, then I would go back. Nobody goes, oh, look at CM Punk charging all that money. Who does he think he is? It's his choice, and it's WWE's choice whether they want to pay it or not. End of. It's a non-story. This is the outrage over nothing. Over nothing. I just don't get that story. I really don't, but it happens all the time. It's so frustrating. Let's talk about Buddy Murphy. Speaking of people for bookings in their post-WWE career, Buddy Murphy. Looks like Buddy Murphy may have no issues getting booking and having a lucrative run on the indies. Now, word is going around that there is a lot of interest from independent wrestling promoters in booking all of the WWE talents that were released on the 2nd of June, but Murphy is a name that a lot of top promoters especially want to work with, again, according to PW Insider. Promoters reported that there is significant interest in booking Murphy as there is a feeling he could have a ton of dream matches with a ton of top indie talents. Now, I think, again, yes, I agree with that. But that's the same for Murphy, that's the same for Aleister Black, that's the same for Braun Strowman, that's the same for Samoa Joe, that's the same for the Iconics. There's loads of guys that were released by WWE that I think will do fine. Most people when they leave WWE, if they've got a little bit of a name, they'll be fine. I really sympathize with those that were released last year. There wasn't an independent scene to go to because it was shut down. We're seeing indie shows start to pick back up now, so whether it is a Murphy or an Aleister Black, if they didn't want to go to a big company, they don't want to be tied down to a long-term contract, of course Murphy will do great. He's an excellent in-ring worker. Him facing off against a ton of other stars in the independent scene, he's going to do very, very well. In comparison to a Braun Strowman, I can't imagine his fee is going to be super high. Maybe it's more reasonable that they sign him. But again, that's his choice. So looks like we could see a load of independent dates for Murphy, but of course we will. He's very, very talented. And he didn't maybe get the opportunity that his talent warranted in WWE. So why wouldn't he get those opportunities? So again, I find that report interesting. Let's talk about NXT and the NXT ratings briefly from the NXT TakeOver In Your House Go Home edition of the show this week. Tuesday's live TakeOver In Your House Go Home edition of NXT with the final build for Sunday's big TakeOver event drew 669,000 live viewers on the USA Network. This is according to Nielsen via PW Torch. The viewership is up 0.15% from last week's show, which drew 668,000 live viewers, so it's essentially flat. Tuesday's NXT show drew a 0.20 rating in the key 18 to 49 demographic. This is up 5.3% from last week's show, which drew a 0.19 rating in the key demographic. Now, this week's NXT viewership was down 0.6%, so again flat from the same week in 2020, while the 18 to 49 demographic was actually up 25% from the same week in 2020. Now, of course, the 2020 episode went head-to-head with AEW Dynamite, and this show faced competition from the NBA playoffs. So it's difficult to look into, really, isn't it? I think the thing that I would want to say about NXT and TakeOver being on Sunday, and again, we are going to be doing a TakeOver watch-along and live reaction stream on Sunday, so be sure to check that out. Subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. My thing I would say about NXT and TakeOver is that this TakeOver In Your House has been announced for like a month or so, but it's the build feels really, really, really rushed. And that they haven't really decided what they wanted to do with it until the last couple of weeks or so. Like, the card seems good. The card seems good on paper, and I'm sure the event will be great, but the card has pretty much been decided in the last 2 weeks. The NXT Championship match was decided last week. We had a ton of matches announced this week on NXT. It's kind of like, for whatever reason, NXT and WWE decided, okay, we're going to do this for the event. And has it taken away from the hype for the event? A little bit, because you've kind of forgotten at times that there was a takeover coming in the future. There hasn't felt like there's this big hype to the event. And do the ratings reflect that? I mean, maybe this is NXT settling on the audience that they're going to get on a Tuesday. I don't think NXT will be happy with that, because I think they would have thought they were going to get more. And they're not, or they certainly aren't at the moment. So interesting, very interesting. It's going to be interesting, of course, with WWE's return to touring, to see if NXT is going to be featured into these things like the draft. I think they should be, but time will tell. Time will tell with that. It's fascinating. Let's talk about The Undertaker briefly. The Undertaker has heaped praise on current Universal Champion Roman Reigns. He recently spoke with Justin Barrasso of Sports Illustrated. Now, of course, Reigns is currently in the midst of a Universal Championship reign, and The Undertaker was quick to praise the Universal Champion. He said, quote, "I'm so proud of where he is. The night of Survivor Series, I went up to Roman and Jay and said, this is the most compelling story we've done in a while. And where he's been able to take it, it's so good. It's not forced. Roman is hitting on all cylinders." Now, The Undertaker also had praise for Paul Heyman in his recent work with Roman Reigns. Of course, Taker has history with Heyman. Heyman managed him in WCW. He said, quote, "Obviously, Paul Heyman is the perfect mouthpiece. He's there whenever it's needed, and he adds so much. They work so well together." And I don't think The Undertaker, obviously, huge praise coming from someone like The Undertaker. There's no doubt about that. And he's right. Of course, The Undertaker's right. I don't think it takes a genius to figure out that Roman Reigns is the best thing on television, the best thing that WWE have done in a while. I think it's interesting that we see everyone universally praising Roman Reigns for his work and the creative storyline with Roman Reigns' character week after week after week on SmackDown. I find it interesting once we start hearing the reports of how all of this is being sort of created and the creative process behind it, and that it's not really involving that much of the creative team, but it's involving Reigns, Heyman, probably Bruce Pritchard as well, and Michael Hayes pretty much does all of the matches. You would look at that and say to the creative team, okay, what are you doing then? Because everything you touch turns to crap, and everything that's just this select group of people is doing well. Everyone's praising it. Certainly food for thought there. There's an update on NXT policy when it comes to the COVID policy for the upcoming NXT TakeOver show this Sunday, but also going forward. WWE has adjusted their event policies to no longer require a COVID-19 test ahead or during a NXT shows, starting with NXT TakeOver in your house on Sunday. WWE is requesting that fans do not register to attend Sunday's pay-per-view if they have been in close contact with a person diagnosed with coronavirus and have experienced COVID symptoms in the last 14 days or have tested positive in the past 14 days. NXT has been the only WWE show allowing fans to attend live every week after WWE moved their tapings to the Thunderdome last August. Prior to this change, fans had to fill out a questionnaire before the show. At the event, fans had to submit a free rapid COVID-19 antigen test the night of the show, complete a COVID-19 health questionnaire and a waiver, and submit a thermal temperature check before entering the venue. Now, Raw and SmackDown, of course, will return to touring starting on Friday, July 16. WWE has issued a waiver for those who attend events, which releases the company and their partners from any liability. Again, when it comes to this kind of stuff, I know this was at WrestleMania. This was brought up as well of WWE's new waiver when it comes to COVID and live events, and people again were going, "Oh, look at WWE trying to pass the buck." Well, of course you would sign a waiver. What do you expect? You're attending a show during a pandemic. Of course WWE are going to want you to pay sign a waiver, because, again, that's bad business. If they didn't sign a waiver, one person comes to that event, gets sick, and possibly, heaven forbid, something worse, come on, I mean, the lawyers would have a field day. So, again, it's interesting that WWE is adjusting this. Again, I guess this is the next process of getting back to going on the road for WWE and returning to touring. Finally, I want to talk about WWE stock, and I can already hear people sighing about this, and trust me, I'm no stock expert, but the WWE stock has surged to a 52-week high of $70.72 this morning. Bear in mind, at one point, this is a sidebar, but bear in mind at one point, the WWE stock was nearly $100 a share. And right prior to the Crown Jewel event of 2018, with the whole decision to continue going over to Saudi Arabia despite the political unrest between Saudi Arabia and the United States at the time, that was $100 a share, and it tumbled massively. But the stock currently is at $70.72 this morning. Now, the stock is currently up 12.31% on the day, trading at $65.31 per share. Now, the stock opened at $63.01 per share, and has stayed above $62.99 since opening. Pre-market trading was up 10% at one point this morning. Now, the stock surge apparently is due to interest from the Wall Street Bets subreddit, which is behind the recent headline-making spikes for GameStop and AMC, amongst others. A trending Reddit post from that subreddit had made the case for buying WWE stock options. It was noted by Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics at one point this morning, with the stock up 16%. The market value of WWE Chairman and CEO Vince McMahon's ownership, which is nearly 29 million shares, was almost $300 million more valuable than it was yesterday. So I find it funny that, again, and realistically, these aren't WWE fans buying these stocks or anything like that, because, again, it's investors on a subreddit. But I find it funny that people can criticize Vince McMahon and go, budget cuts. Oh, how dare WWE, how dare have Vince McMahon made $300 million, essentially, in a morning because the stock price went up. I don't think he cares. I don't think he cares. And I know people will look at this and talk about, does this affect, the sale of WWE? I don't think so. This is kind of separate. It's just funny that, again, people are painting WWE as this big evil corporation, the evil empire run by Darth Vader, Vince McMahon himself, and yet, he's getting richer every other day. So what are you going to do? But look, guys, as always, this is just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on all of the WWE news stories we've spoken about today? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll do my best to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys, talking about WWE, AEW, Impact Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, all things pro wrestling here on the channel. So be sure to get involved in the community. Drop a comment below. All opinions are welcome. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button too. Really does help us out here on YouTube. Go up the rankings and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestle News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video, along with another video for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or have you come across this video today, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.